Yeah, very different. Are we going uphill or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just starting to go up steep again.
Mm-hmm.
Guess one of the other watches couldn't handle the counter rotation on the sonar.
Mike Brennan probably phoned in, told him it was going the wrong way.
So we have a question about if we have UV light, which would attract fish or a smaller creature. We don't, right? We don't use UV light on the ROVs.
I don't believe so.
No. No.
So the idea is trying to understand that the conditions and the behavior are as natural as possible, so we're not using anything to actively attract any creatures. Just trying to observe and discover what is there.
Just zoom in, like full zoom there, Mary. Let's see what all this stuff is. Here,
Woody bits.
Hard to tell.
little woody bits, something.
Yeah.
They come out just a little bit.
Yeah.
There's big patches of it, and then it disappears, and then there's another big patch.
And it's just right in the rocks again here.
Oh, little shrimp.
Yeah. More rocks. Some big swell.
Okay, full wide. Yeah, it doesn't look bad out there, but there's some big swells for sure.
You can feel them?
Yeah, we see Argus cam kind of.
Yeah. Kind of get bounced up and down. And
We kind of have a sunrise in wire cam.
You should be able to see the island real well with port.
I can't swing port around that far. I just tried. Can you turn the ship so we can get a good sunrise?
definitely more sand up this way.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that part of that sediment is dead coral too?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some dead coral. Just areas of sand. With a lot of dead sponge around too. And then rocks, and they've all been cemented in. Definitely less coral in this patch.
So maybe this is a question for Wendy or Mike. Our viewer says, you've mentioned the noise the ROV make. I was looking up solutions and came across the resonant sub-wavelength acoustic panels. Have we heard about them or?
Not at all.
No.
So would that make it quieter? Is that what the...
I think so.
We've got 6 thrusters that have to move water around. And in the case of Hercules and most vehicles, if you want to, I mean, Jason is a big vehicle that's like largely electric, but for the most part, you at least need hydraulics to run the arms at any rate. Most vehicles use hydraulics to run the thruster, so you've got a pretty big motor and a pump, make a fair bit of noise. And your thrusters, it's hard to do anything with that.
So yeah, right now it's a little difficult to see, but we do have the laser pointers. Right now they're in the middle of the screen. Yeah, as I said, it's difficult to see now with that background.
Still pretty turbid up here too.
Yeah, it got dirty all of a sudden, didn't it?
Yeah, it must be that swell stirring everything up.
There's a nice coral up front in between the lasers. Do you see that, Mike?
Way ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
we make our way up there?
Yeah, we're really stretched out right now, but
Okay. Slowly,
we're moving
slow
again.
and steady.
Yep. Yeah, every time we see a big steep rise come up like that, we have to be really conservative and stop the ship, and it takes a minute to get it going again.
I'll be patient.
Or else Argus will be like a big expensive wrecking ball.
We don't want that.
No, that sounds
Makes
like a
our
bad phone
jobs
call someone has to make.
Not fun.
Oh.
So how long is the tether between the two?
It's only about 32, 34 meters, I think, this one.
Yeah, this one's shorter than some of the ones I've worked with previous years.
Yeah. Yeah, they're usually like 30 some meters, and then I think go and see, what do we use, like 50, 70 maybe? 50 something.
Cable ops, it was 50, 55.
Yeah.
I think we've also used like a 20, 25 meter. Always comically short.
That's hard to manage, yeah. You zoom in there, please.
Nice coral. That's a long one.
Go in and focus.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Not
is
looking
long.
so good back here.
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
I don't think I can get the whole thing. Is that the attached end?
Yeah, but
Looks like it's fallen.
yeah, sorry, that's
Coming
our,
out.
we're stretched out a bit. That's Argus is heaving around a fair bit.
That's wide.
It's the great thing about having this two-body system, though, as long as you stay close enough to Argus, that Argus can be moving around quite a bit, and you can still not really notice it in Herc.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So are there other systems where they don't have the two?
Well, some do, but some don't. There's other ROVs like Ropos and the Schmidt vehicle, Sebastian. They're
I like that.
they're single body systems, so they have their heavy armored cable is directly to the vehicle, so they can pick the vehicle up with that cable. But they go down as it's just them. So what they float a length of the cable. They put the vehicle in the water, and then they put an amount of floats on the because that cable is very heavy.
Okay.
And they float a length of it behind it, and that allows them to fly around without dragging, without that cable acting on them too much, but it still does. So you can imagine they've got like a kind of catenary behind them, but that cable is heaving up and down with the ship all the time. So
Right.
that float system kind of cures it a little bit, but it's not as good as this is for dampening. But they have other advantages of that. They have like 1 ROV instead of 2. They can pick
Right.
things up. They can attach. They can pick up a load on the bottom and carry it on the wire.
Okay.
So it's-
So why is this called Hercules? What's the story behind that?
that I don't know. Does anybody know the story?
Mary?
You don't know it?
I know bits and pieces of it, but I
Is-
would hate
is-
to say it and have
is-
somebody in Rhode Island say, "What?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
What is she talking about?"
Well, is Argus Hercules' brother or something?
Argus is like, doesn't he have like many eyes?
Yeah,
or
Argus is
something?
all seeing. Like
I
that's.
thought it was the Panopticon.
Oh.
So it's
I
like,
know it all kind of revolves around Jason, you know, the whole Jason idea.
Which one? Why is Jason named Jason?
Now see,
Getting off topic.
It's Jason and the Argonauts, right?
I could
I
wax
don't know that
poetic,
story.
but somebody will bust me. So
Somebody's gonna phone in a minute. Straighten us out. Does nobody know anything out there?
I'm sure there are viewers who know this story.
That's
probably.
right. Is it Bobby Argus Jr. or somebody get in with it?
Maybe we can all look it up in our 20-hour transit. And then
It might be on the Nautilus Live website somewhere.
ah, that's true.
Yeah.
Go on a scavenger hunt.
It might be on our Wikipedia more than our website.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow. So there's like, this is just like a smooth, sandy slope
Yeah.
here.
There is not much up here. What depth are we at now?
are we
Mhm.
facing up or facing down on Herc?
Facing up slope, but
Up
it's
slope.
not really super steep anymore.
Mm.
Off to starboard, it goes much steeper.
Yeah. I mean, with this kind of terrain, I wouldn't
There's all
expect many
rocky stuff.
corals because there's not much for them to attach to. And fish as well, not much protection.
This is very
Yeah.
similar as yesterday when we were over 2,000 meters
Right.
depth, right? Even less creatures
Yeah,
and living organisms.
not a lot of habitat complexity.
Yeah. Hello to our followers in Germany. We are exploring the National Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa. So yesterday and today we were exploring Swains Island, which is the northernmost part of American Samoa. And right now we're going slowly uphill, reducing our depth.
There's a few little corals there.
Yeah. So besides the regular cameras on Herc, we have a new special camera for the mosaics, right?
Yeah. Well, that's on. That's. Anybody know the history of that? Miles, maybe? No.
Nope.
It's Chris Roman's. It's a
Yeah,
Roman lab camera.
I don't
We've-
think it's a
we've-
new thing.
No, we've used it on
not
the
new.
vehicle a ton.
Yeah.
We've used it several times.
Been around at least as long as I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the cameras for the models are any fancier or anything. I think the only difference is, well, that I've seen so far is the cameras on Herc tend to rotate a lot more, and I think Chris's cameras are just kind of hovering over in a sort of planar fashion, so you can get that good
Yeah.
overlap for the models.
Yeah, you're right. I think they're not,
They're mounted on like a fixed bracket, and they're
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
calibrated in position.
and they have a strobe fire, right? So they
Right.
have a lot of light when they take a picture.
Yeah, yeah. You can see them flash actually from the wide view every time.
They're also still cameras as opposed to video cameras.
Yep.
That's the big difference.
That's right. Yeah.
The first time I saw them was when we were in the Black Sea and we were taking mosaics of the shipwrecks that we found. So those pictures that are in the hallway downstairs, if you look at those were some of the first mosaics he did. It's really amazing. And those aren't 3D, now they're 3D.
Yeah, this is going to be a whole new thing to look at.
Mm-hmm.
They have the laser on it now too, so you can do, I think, bathymetry from that.
Is that a fish down there? To the
Where?
I missed it.
coming towards the rock, towards the bottom now.
Don't see it.
See it? To the right of the lasers, and then slightly down.
Oh, it's really
Hovering.
small.
It's very small.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's a little shrimp
Oh,
or
I
if
think it's a little shrimp.
Okay.
He's cruising.
It's still too... I haven't had enough coffee for my left and rights. Yeah, there's a little shrimp.
Zoom in.
Shrimp. Yes.
Yeah. Almost exactly 10 centimeters, I'd say. Hey.
Let's see how good you are, Mike.
Yeah. I haven't got any room to wiggle around. Oh, I got good on the other side.
Maybe he'll turn.
He's moving pretty fast, yeah. There he goes.
Oh, see, he did turn around. He's confused now. He's just going in circles.
Blinded.
Yeah.
There's some sort of fish in the Argus cam. Oh, he just went out.
Yeah, I'll let him go.
Thank you.
I'm out. I'm coming out, I mean.
You said you saw a fish?
It was in the Argus cam, but
Okay.
it swam out of the light. About that time.
Yeah, it's about that time, folks.
Alrighty. Time to come on up. Morning.
Yeah, we're gonna...
Okay.
Can we call it here?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right.
Shoots.
Which way do you want to face?
Oh, I'm going the wrong way. You're okay, pretty much.
Okay.
Thanks for diving with us. have a great day. We have a question about if we have any devices
Start
to
pulling up a little bit just to get away from this stuff here.
to keep curious sharks at a safe distance, or to discourage them from attacking the ROVs.
I wish we could see more sharks, actually. It'd be cool.
We've seen
Probably good
several
enough there. I
sharks,
just had something on my side I want to get clear of.
but they've
Mhm.
never attacked.
Yeah, I don't think they would
I
attack
mean, there's
the
no
ROV.
smell or. I mean, I don't know anything about sharks, but we've never been attacked by one that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
All right. Pull up, start coming up there.
But we have seen a lot. Some of them, you know, come all the way up inside our or Herc and look around.
That's
pretty
so
cool.
great. Yeah.
And actually, can we get one last water sample here?
Right here?
Yep.
Yep.
You need bubble.
Okay.
Always want one more.
Yeah, one more. Still got, no, I don't have good Doppler. There's depth. Trying to kill me.
So thanks to our audience for being with us on this very interesting dive around Swains Island at the International Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa. We're going to be heading towards Vailulu'u, and I want Ave to correct me. How would you pronounce that correctly?
She's just coming.
Oh,
1 second.
Okay. Okay.
You're wide open.
Go to 10.
Valeria,
Yeah.
it's Vailulu.
Say it again.
Yeah, Vailulu.
Got it.
Vailulu.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Thanks, guys.
So we have a question about what exactly happens when you do that with those strings, Mike.
Oh, when he pulls that
Uh-huh.
string, it
Well, let me.
pulls on a little pin with a spring that then releases the hooks on either end of the Niskin, and then the Niskin's kind of naturally wants to close because there's a bungee in it, so it closes the bottle and traps the water inside.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And for our audience that is curious about that, you can
These
see
are
that
the Niskins here.
in the
and
quad. You can see what Wendy just talked about.
If you're, I can shut my auto heading off if you've got a little bit of tension on. Right. Coming up.
So when will be our next dive, you guys?
I think we were aiming for
Tomorrow morning?
Thursday morning.
Tomorrow morning, yeah. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. We're going to be in Vailulu, and we have great expectations of what's going to happen there. So come with us tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we have a nice 20-hour transit
Mm-hmm.
east to find the seamount.
Yeah, and I say tomorrow morning, but that's Samoan time,
Yes.
so. So Georgia, do we know if water down here is well oxygenated?
If water is what, sorry?
Well oxygenated.
Oh, oxygenated. Rebecca?
Well, it looks like it's about 93% micromoles per liter.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's a lot of blue water.
Thank you all for being part of this adventure. So Becca, are you there?
Yep.
What sample of the ones you collected are you most looking forward to processing?
I kind of like the last yellow coral sample that we picked up. It seemed pretty brittle.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope I can be there with you guys when you process that one. And check that out.
Yep. So as soon as the Hercules and Argus on board, we'll come out there with our different containers labeled for each sample and get each sample off of Hercules and into the wet lab.
Great.
And for those watching, that will be live streamed on a camera positioned in the wet lab, so you can kind of see some of the samples as we bring them in and what we do to process them and get them ready for storage and shipping them out to scientists.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, just to clarifying, I said morning and I meant 24 hours from now, more or less. So whatever you are in the world, our next dive will be around 24 hours from now. We have a couple of people from Argentina just signing in. Welcome to our channel. We just finished diving in the northernmost part of National Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa and at the Swains Island, and we continue to Bailulu's.
That was
Is
good.
that right? Perfect. I'm learning.
Ave is smiling back here.
Oh, yes. Are you smiling because it's correct or it's because it's nah?
He said no S at the end, but the rest is good. Like Lulu.
Nice. So
Stop.
stay tuned. In 24 hours, we're going to start that dive. So if we found a sunken boat, we will mark it, but we cannot in any way damage it or conduct any sampling nearby that could damage it. Our permits do not authorize any activity that disturb or impact any historical or marine archaeological resources of the sanctuary. So if we found something like that, the permit actually shall cease until until the local authorities are aware of that, and then they decide what to do with it. So how far away from here is Vailulu?
I think miles will be best to answer that.
Okay,
I'm just working something out right now. Do
Seems
you want to know distance in, miles, that sort of distance?
miles,
Or kilometers or
What was
something?
the
How far
question?
away is Vailulu from here?
Oh, stand by.
Yep.
It looks like it's 412 kilometers away.
Oh. 412 kilometers, okay.
Also 220 nautical miles.
And how deep are we now?
We're at 1,091 meters.
Okay.
So we are heading towards the surface.
So for the people that just tuned in, we just finished our first dive in the National Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa. in Swains Island, and we're bringing our ROVs back to the surface to process the samples that we've taken, and we'll head to Vailulu Seamount, and that's going to take us around 24 hours until we start our new dive down there. Oh, so Anthony's not in the van right now, but I give him your greetings for sure. Thanks for following us now. Yeah, thanks for sending us your concerns about the fish. Well, we were around 1,300 meters below the surface, so at that depth we were not expecting to have many fish, so that's why we're not that concerned about the specific presence of or absence of fish at that depth. But maybe in shallower waters, especially if you fish with canoes. I don't know exactly how deep you could fish, but this was pretty deep. Georgia, are you there?
I'm here.
So we have a question about if we're expecting sea life to be very different on the next location, and I would say yes, right?
Yes. Yep. So we are heading towards a seamount, and it's still active. And when it was first surveyed, there was a lot of life, particularly a high density of eels. And then when they resurveyed it, there'd obviously been a recent activity there with the seamount, and a lot of the life was lost. So it's very interesting for us because what we want to do is to see whether or not that's rebounded since it was last surveyed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very active seamount, and yeah, very excited to see what's there and see if it's changed since they last looked at it. think it was discovered in 1975.
Yeah,
First discovered.
1975. Okay.
And there's been several eruptions since. But it was previously known for high density of eels. Oh, there's something on the screen there. Jellyfish.
Cool jellyfish.
I don't know if he's intending to swim like that or if things have gone terribly wrong. But good luck to him.
Wow.
Yes, there's been a few studies on the on Vailulu Seamount, looking at the changes that it's had from recent volcanic activity. So it's been a big priority for us on this trip to go back and to see what's happening there now. So I think it'll be quite different to this. And yeah, it's quite a big distance from where we are now. So yep, we're heading about 200 miles east of here.
Yay.
Yep, so other studies have called Vailulu an unpredictable and very active underwater volcano.
Yes.
So that's exciting.
That's super exciting. I am really excited about that.
And it is part of the National Marine Sanctuary of American Samoa as well. And I'm reading something here, but I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it says that, and I can ask Ave, but the name Vailulu refers to a sacred rain that supposedly fell with every gathering of the last king of Samoa. And apparently in 2000, it was named Vailulu, and it was chosen by some Samoan high school students. So I'm sure there's some very interesting stories about this seamount, and that will all come on the next dive. So everybody should tune in.
I can't wait.
What could be more exciting, right?
Yeah. Submarine volcanoes.
And we're the 428 watch team, so
yeah,
tune in then.
So we have a question about what do you mean by the word active seamount? And I say that it's still erupting.
Yes, yep.
Right.
So it's still active, still erupting, and that means it's still changing, and it can be unpredictable.
And basically you see like gases coming up from it, or vents, or
they have before, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it says evidence of hydrothermal alteration. Yeah, they can find it in rock samples. They've also seen the chimneys that have some iron oxide from them. Changes in temperature, and it lies in the Samoan hotspot here. So it's in our volcanic chain.
Yeah.
And yep, so this one's been looked at a couple of times. And as I said, we're very keen to see it now, to see whether it's changed since it was looked at previously, where they reported a big change in composition of the community down there. So there was a really interesting paper that came out from the Scripps lab. I'm looking for a date, but that talks a bit about this, the seamount, Vailulu seamount. And yep, it's entitled The Life and Death on an Active Submarine Volcano. So if anyone very interested, that gives a really good rundown of this seamount, Vailulu seamount.
Yeah. And we have a viewer that says, please pass my thanks to the 4 to 8 crew for the fun dive. We're very lucky, so thank you guys.
Well, thanks. It's been fun up here.
Yeah.
Once the coffee kicked in.
Yeah, it's not an easy watch because at 4 especially, we were all kind of like half asleep, I guess.
Yeah, when the alarm goes off at 3:30, it's
yeah.
so, but it's a good watch. So
Yeah. And
when we find things, it's always a lot more fun.
yeah, of course. Yeah. And actually about finding things, we have a question about if we're expecting to see some of those tube worms near the volcanic site.
Potentially. Again, that's something that we will be looking at to see whether or not that has changed. So previously they have found a very high abundance of those, and then that decreased after some sort of activity there. So that's something that we will be looking at. So again, same thing, we're going to run transects, looking at fish and the benthic communities. So we run 100-meter transects at a deeper depth, and then when we get shallower as well, so we're aiming for at least 4, so 2 deeper and 2 shallow. And then we're also taking those photographs to enable us to create 3D models.
Yes.
So we do 5 by 5 meter grids, so we'll do those there as well. And then that's a really good visual tool for us to look at. But at the same time, we'll also be doing some sampling, and then of course we'll be doing some exploring and checking out what's there, and we'll use all of that information with some colleagues ashore to determine if what the change has been.
So we have another question about if it is currently extruding lava, or does it happen in pulses, or maybe a bit of both.
I believe it's impulses, and I'm not sure when the last activity was recorded. So we can try and find all this information out during our transit, and then give the best and the latest available information when we start that dive.
Yeah.
In 24 hours.
And just to remind our audience that this area of the world is hardly been explored before.
Exactly.
So we're also learning and exploring as well as you are. So
exactly. And we also don't know what we'll see. So we're seeing at the same time that everyone else is seeing it.
Exactly, which is pretty amazing. This is pretty exciting. So when you guys follow us from your home, you're being part of this adventure and you're discovering it with us in real time.
Is this your first trip to American Samoa, Valeria?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is the first time that I am in this part of the world. I am pretty excited. I was very amazed by the beauty of the island and the water, and snorkeling a little bit when we had our free time there was pretty exciting too, to see so many different species of corals and little fish and stars and all that good stuff that I love. And the temperature is so nice, so it doesn't...
Definitely warmer than this control van.
Yeah.
It's pretty chilly in here.
Yeah.
But I think it has to stay cold to keep all of this equipment
Exactly. Yeah.
intact. But yeah, it's a little chilly.
And before you came to work here in American Samoa, Georgia, have you visited the place before?
No. In fact, I guess I wasn't exactly sure where it was before I applied for the job. I knew it was in the South Pacific, but it's even still, it's hard to find on a map. It's a very small landmass. It's the only U.S. territory that's south of the equator. And yes, so it was very desirable by the U.S. because of the harbor. So it is the deepest harbor in the Pacific. So it's very safe, and large ships can anchor in the middle of the harbor and be protected. So very good strategic location, and yeah, very beautiful. So my office back in American Samoa overlooks the harbor. But yeah, still.
But you're quite an adventurer to have taken a job and, you know, like.
Thank you. I like that term.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. We only live once, so yeah, this great opportunity came up, and I love the South Pacific, and was pretty keen to come back. And yeah, it's been fantastic. I have a fantastic team. The islands are beautiful. The coral. There's some really nice spots. And then my job really is to monitor those and then address any changes or stress that we see. So I work with fantastic agencies like the National Marine Sanctuaries in American Samoa and the National Park Service, and we all work together and yeah, work to protect those reefs for the communities and maintain that level of biodiversity. I know things are changing a lot, so we're working really hard to keep the coral as healthy as possible.
What would you say is the importance of keeping those corals healthy? How does that link to the community living in American Samoa?
Well, 75% of the community in American Samoa, mainly on the main island, Tutuila, still relies on fish that they catch themselves. And obviously those fish live inside of the reef. So there's a direct link there for protein supply and food supply. But also the reefs are really important in American Samoa because we have a cyclone season, and those reefs act as a very good barrier and protection from those strong waves and wind and the storms that come in. So it protects our shoreline. And also we get a little bit of protection from the increasing storms that are predicted, but also from tsunamis. So there was a tsunami in 2009. So the stronger and the healthier our reefs are, then the less damage that we experience on land.
Exactly.
And then also maintaining that biodiversity as well is very important. So we are pretty isolated, which can be a good thing. And we have some very biodiverse reefs. So they've been studied for a long time. In fact, we have the oldest coral transect in the world. It has been studied for 102 years. It's a fun fact for everyone this morning. So, yeah, so there's been a lot of research being done in American Samoa, and it's of great interest to a lot of scientists. So part of my job is I get to work with different scientists and teams that come in, and which is great. I get to learn a lot from everybody, just like on the ship. We get to meet all these very interesting people from different backgrounds, and I get to work with them.
Yeah.
So, yep. So the reefs are very important for the communities, but also for science.
Nice. See, we have a viewer that has recently found our channel. Thanks for following us. And this follower is asking if we have any advice for someone thinking about pursuing a career in science. Well, my advice is that science is so wide, so find your passion in that very wide, amazing world of science and pursue it.
Yeah, and take opportunities as well. If something, lots of things are out there and different internships, and there's a whole variety of internships on the Nautilus, and take those, because that will also help you choose or learn what interests you the most. So take every opportunity that you can.
So what the temperature is here? Well, in this van it's pretty chilly.
I'm shivering.
Outside in the boat is pretty warm. It's tropical weather. I don't know, would that be like around the 80s Fahrenheit? What do you think?
I don't know Fahrenheit, but Rebecca's nodding.
Yeah, so around the 80s in Fahrenheit, and that would be, I don't know, I would say around 30s, a little less than that.
Yep.
Celsius.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But the water in the shallows is usually pretty constant, 28, 29 degrees Celsius.
Which is pretty amazing. That
Makes it
reminds
great
me
for my job.
Yeah, reminds
I've been
me
spoiled.
of half year in the Galapagos. We have pretty cool temperature in the water as well, but it's only half year. So can the Nautilus or the ROVs detect sea floor quakes? So we have one of our pilots saying no, and I think that is a no.
No, but we use ROVs, and Herc has done it to install an array of seismometers for Ocean Networks Canada that they will detect earthquakes. So
Nice.
we've installed the instruments that do it, but we can't do it ourselves.
So yeah, you can find all our highlights for every expedition and every trip. This is to respond to another question. You'll find them in our website, nautiluslive.org. And also you can find us on our YouTube channel, where you can see all the dives. Yeah. And how can the average person contribute to protecting our coral reefs? Well, that's a very good question. There are several ways to protect coral reefs, I would say. The first thing that comes to my mind is check what kind of sunscreen do you use. There are some components that can be damaging to corals. The best ones to use are the ones that are mineral based. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And be very careful when you snorkel or swim. Try not to kick them or touch them much.
Yeah. That's always a good one. That's something that you can directly do is, as Valeria is saying, remember that that coral is a living animal, so it's not going to be very happy if you are standing on it or if you kick it. So just take care with that, and that in itself can help.
And remember that they take a long time to grow.
Exactly.
So even if you break a little piece, it might have taken 5-10 years to grow. So really be careful and be mindful about that. And then also, I guess, trying to contribute to local governments and the way we use our wastewaters, because I don't know how it is in American Samoa, but in several places we dump dirty waters also that could damage them. Be mindful about the plastics and trash and waste in general that end up going to the ocean.
Yeah, and also leave everything else there. So try not to take any shells or take anything from the reef. It's all there for a reason. So all those starfish and shells and crabs and everything are all there as part of an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So take pictures and
Take
enjoy
pictures.
it. And leave everything else.
Yeah, and remember everything that is dead